Hello, hello, everyone. I want to welcome all of you. As you're coming on, let us know where you're watching from tonight. I know we have hundreds of people who are tuned in tonight, excited to hear from Dr. Rob, one of the most incredible frequency doctors and our good friend and partner here at Frequent. So I don't want to take a lot of time, but I do want to give you just a thumbnail sketch of who Dr. Rob is, how we met, why Frequent. So my name is Barb Pitcock, and I am the CEO of Frequence, along with my incredible husband, Dave, and our family, who's very involved in the launch of this new company that is just launching in about 10 days. So Valentine's Day, we will all be celebrating the official launch of Frequence. And as we build up to the excitement of this company, I have to reflect on the last 12 months, how we started in a beta test with a product that we really believed was going to help elevate people's mind and their brain health. We wanted to bring the power of frequency to these products. And Dave and I have been passionate about that for many years. Some of you have heard our story, maybe some of you haven't. There's not enough time for that tonight, but I will tell you my passion and my purpose is helping people with high impact result driven products. I am incredibly passionate about people's mental health. Any way that we can make a difference, I feel like there is a ripple effect happening across the world, and these products are making so much of a difference for people. But I will tell you how I met Dr. Rob wasn't anything that I expected. And so we pre-launched a beta test in November a year ago, not this past November, the year before that, testing a product, seeing what customers would say about a product that Dr. Rob's going to share with you tonight. And a few months later, I had a little granddaughter born on Mother's Day, and she was born with a very rare challenge in her health. And of course, our partner, who knows the greatest doctors, had referred us to meet Dr. Rob. Now, I didn't know a lot about Dr. Rob other than the testimony that I had heard. Our partner Terry had said he had taken his son there. His COO of all of his companies had taken her daughter there, and they had incredible challenges that they overcame with frequency. And so, us being a frequency company, I was like, maybe we should try this frequency doctor. And my son, Chance, was there in his office with our little granddaughter, Rose. And you'll hear her story one day. But, it was a lot of gloom and doom and not much we can do for this baby until they met Dr. Rob. And they had so much hope, and they were just blown away with what he said frequency could do for the body. Now, of course, we already knew what frequency could do for the body. That's why Frequence, right? But Chance happened to mention the product line, the mission, the purpose, the passion. And Dr. Rob agreed to meet Chance's parents. So Dave and I got on a Zoom with Dr. Rob and his assistant, Kayla. And then next thing I knew, Dr. Rob said, I would love to get their products and I would love to know more. And pretty soon he was at our summit where we were pre-launching, and he was full-blown passionate about Frequence. Now I want to tell you guys, when you have a company that is growing at the rate that our company is growing, everybody wants to be your doctor. Everybody wants to be your medical director. Everybody is an expert. But Dr. Rob was different. It wasn't like a doctor that I paid money to say something. It wasn't like a doctor that was competing to be the doctor of the company. It was truly a story where God brought us together and we shared a passion, and he has so much knowledge, so much credibility, and so much experience with frequency and your body that he is just a perfect fit for Frequence. So tonight, he is going to be sharing with you about the products, how the frequency on the products can impact your health. And I hope in the next 30 minutes or so, you will take some notes and listen up. I think you're going to be, if you're anything like me, you're going to be absolutely mind blown, and you're going to say, how can I learn more? And at the end of tonight's presentation, we're going to share with you a special announcement and obviously a product that is just launching in the next 10 days. So at this time, I just want you to listen up as I introduce one of the most incredible doctors I've ever met, who's had so much impact, not just on my life, but the change he's made for our little granddaughter, Rose. And tonight, I believe that he will have that impact on you if you just listen and implement some of the things he says. By the end of this Zoom, you'll have enough information to make a decision. Is this something I want to try or not? And I'm sure you'll have lots of questions in the chat. We'll be following that. But Dr. Rob DeMartino has decades of experience. He is in Las Vegas, Nevada, tuning in tonight live for all of you. And Dr. Rob, I am just going to hand it over to you. I'm so grateful for you. I can't wait to see you next week in Florida. And I love listening to you. Every time I listen, I learn something. So the floor is yours. And thank you so much for taking time out. I know you just finished with patients.
Yeah, just finished the practice for the day, and excited to spend a little bit of time with everybody. Hello to everybody. I see you all thanking me and welcoming me in the chat. I appreciate it. And it really was kind of a wild story of how we met. You know, I was in my little bubble in Henderson, just outside of Las Vegas, and just working on as many patients as I can possibly see, trying to help people. And that's the whole reason I got into all of this. And the reason that I chose to do it through natural medicine was because that's what helped me when I was a young man and I had health challenges as a kid. That's what helped me. Natural medicine helped me. And then when I moved into natural medicine, then my mom unfortunately got sick, and natural medicine was what helped her. And it's just evolved into this thing that I do in the clinic every single day. And it's evolved into now where we're using frequency-based technology to get some pretty incredible results with some pretty complicated problems. And I don't want to take any credit for that, because it's the frequencies that really do all the power. We bring the science, and the frequencies have all of the healing power. And thankfully, we've been able to heal people from lots of different places. I've had patients come in and stay with us. And, Barb, as Barb was saying, one of our partners, I didn't know any of this. I was just a kid in front of me who needed help. And thankfully, we were able to help. And then another referral from them, another kid who needed help. And thankfully, we were able to help them. And then when we got sweet little Rosie over here from, Barb's granddaughter, and needed help, and thankfully we were able to help. And Chance and I were sitting one day and we were chatting about Rosie, and he said, we're at this company, we're doing nutritional products. Well, that's cool, great. And he says, and we're doing stuff with frequency. I said, well, that's really, that's pretty interesting. And he says, well, would you be willing to talk about frequency? I said, sure. I said, frequency, it's what we do every single day here. And I'm incredibly passionate about it because I see the change that it makes in my patients' lives, in my family's life. Like I said, I started all this because of my mom, but I practice very much what I preach. I use it for my family. I use it for my children. I use it for my staff. I use it for myself. I mean, it is definitely where we're at now. And but it's one of those things that maybe people don't understand, and I always think it's fascinating because there was a quote from Albert Einstein, and he said, this was a long time ago, mind you. He said that the future of medicine will be frequency. And I think it's so interesting because even now, he said that a long time ago, but even now, in 2025, here we are talking about this. And we still use this quote as if, hey, that's going to be somewhere in the future. But I have to tell you that the future is now, right? And people may not know that frequency healing is possible, and the things that we're able to do with frequency, for me, doing this for 25 years is mind blowing from where we started to what we're able to do now. But this future ideology of healthcare and better health and better living and feeling better through frequency is right now. And it's just a way, how do we bring it to the masses? Because I will tell you, and on the day-to-day basis in the clinic, we have to deal with what we affectionately call in the clinic the BS factor. Like, how can this be? How can you get these great results with frequency? How can you say all of these things and no other doctor has told us this? I mean, we're usually the 30th doctor somebody has went to see after they've kind of tried everything else. I'm the last guy on the totem pole that they go to see to try to pull the rabbit out of the hat. And thankfully, I've been able to do that, for many people. So, but you have to overcome this idea. And I think it's why it's so important first that we talk about frequency first as what it is and how it plays a role in our life, because it is central to our lives. And it's always been central to our lives. It is what we call a condition of existence, to be able to connect to the natural frequency that exists, that nature and the earth provides for us. That is a requirement for us to survive and live and feel better and work the way that we're supposed to. And we've kind of lost that just because as we've gotten more advanced as a society and all these things, at our core, we're still hunter gatherers, right? We're not, it's cool that we've got houses and we've got lights and we've got electronics and we've got beds to sleep in, but none of that is what we're designed for. We're designed for being able to be connected with these natural frequencies. And unfortunately, for the vast majority of people, we live completely disconnected from that. And when we get disconnected from those frequencies, all of a sudden, our health starts to suffer. We get out of frequency. We get out of balance. We get out of harmony, right? Disharmony, dis-ease. It's where these words come from. So I think it's so fascinating of how much frequency has played a role in our past, and we've kind of lost it. But now with the introduction of technology, we've kind of gotten right back into frequency because we don't think about it. But I mean, everybody's got a smartphone. I have a smartphone. Everybody uses them. And they work by signaling by frequency, right? When we're done with the Zoom tonight and I leave to go home and I go outside and I hit the key fob on my car to open up my car doors, my car opens, right? Not the car next to mine, not the car down the street. My car opens. Why? Because the frequency in my key fob is connected to the frequency in my car, right? And when I go home, when I do get home and I hit the little button on my car to open my garage door opens, not my neighbor's, not the guy down the street, mine, because that works through frequency, right? Even this, how did you get on this Zoom? Why aren't you on click the Zoom button and end up with somebody completely different? Because it's based on these different frequency patterns that we all have. So frequency plays a role in every single person's life that we don't really think about it that much because we're just so used to all these technological advancements. But what we see in technology advance is really, we're getting away from all of that because we naturally should be exposed to all these natural frequencies. Our bodies are like cell phones. They want to connect to some sort of network, right? We all want to connect to some sort of network, and we're either going to connect to nature. And what does that look like? I mean, I keep saying nature. What does that mean? Things like sun, things like light exposure, things like grounding and earthing, all of the resonant field. The earth makes a resonant field that we're all supposed to be exposed to. It's no shocking thing that this is how we've come to be. But we don't think about that, and no one tells us this, right? So then frequency all of a sudden seems like this weird woo-woo kind of random idea. And I knew it was really important for me. When I opened my clinic, I was determined that we were going to make this clinic be about science. It wasn't going to be about woo-woo. It wasn't going to be people thinking that I was going to wear a funny hat and dance around a fire and they were going to get better, even though that probably works. It was going to be based on really hardcore science. And it is. And the coolest part is in the 25 years of doing this, now there's so much more science behind it. And we have so much more technology that allows us to be able to read all of these different frequencies and address all of these different frequencies. And I always find it fascinating when you look back to the people who had these thought experiments, even way back when, but even into as recent as like the early 1900s, they were talking about frequency then. But it all got swept under the rug because it got swept under the rug with what? We have better health through better chemistry. And there's nothing wrong with chemistry. But let me impart this. There are three major sciences that we work off of. There is biology, there is chemistry, and there is physics. And physics is going to be basically the exchange and transfer of energy, which is what frequency is doing. So if you met me 25 years ago when I was just a youngin' going to school for the first time, I would have talked about the fact that I thought biology was the most important science, right? That the human body is what it is. And obviously I wanted to make sure that the body worked as well as it possibly could. As I evolved, then I said, oh my gosh, chemistry is really important too, right? We run blood panels on people. We need to see what their chemistry levels are and how important chemistry is. And obviously the modern medical system and even the modern functional medicine system, right? A more natural approach is still based on better chemistry, right? We run some testing. We say, okay, you're deficient in X, Y, and Z nutrients and you need to take these. Now there's nothing wrong with that, right? There's nothing wrong with biology. You need all your parts, right? If you have parts missing, well, we have some sort of limitations of matter. You need the right chemistry inside the body. But truth be told, again, if you asked me this 25 years ago, I would have told you I have no idea what role physics plays in this. You know, physics was a class that I had to take in college that required a lot of math that I didn't really like, but I needed to get it to take it to get into medical school. And now here I sit 25 years later, and everything that we do is based on physics. Everything we do is based on energy. And everything that we do is governed by this idea that physics is the governing ruling science. There is no chemical reactions without physics. And again, physics is energy and physics is frequency based, right? There is no chemical reactions. Think, do you ever go on YouTube and you see there's, or maybe like you're looking at shorts, they have the chemistry reactions, right? They take the two beakers full of chemicals and they pour them into each other, and they, sometimes they explode and sometimes they create foam, and they change colors, they do all that cool stuff. And that's great. And that's a chemical reaction, but it requires physics in order for it to work. Why? Because what happens if I just leave these two chemicals in these beakers right next to each other, but they never touch? They need some sort of energy to combine them. Now, in that case, I'm the energy source, right? I'm taking the beakers and I'm pouring them into one thing and causing the chemical reaction. But chemicals by themselves have no effect without some sort of energy source added to them, and that's the power of frequency. Now, we do want chemistry to be correct, but let me ask you this. Do you know how many diseases, now again, it's a loaded question because you can't answer, but do you know how many diseases that are actually considered nutritional diseases, meaning you have a nutritional deficiency that causes a disease? The answer is 10. There are 10 diseases that are factually caused by nutritional deficiencies. That's it. Just 10. Right? You would think, oh my gosh, now is that a get out of jail free card to eat terribly and not have a lot of good nutritional stuff? No, of course it's not. But at the end of the day, we tend to always think, oh, if I just ate better, if I just did this, that would improve my health. But really, no, it's crazy how much more involved with the physics of this. It's important to have proper chemistry, but there's really, I know I see everybody like only 10 question marks. Yeah, I know. I was shocked to find that out too. That's it. There's only 10 diseases that are actually considered nutritional deficiencies, like something like scurvy, right? If you have a deficiency of vitamin C, you get scurvy. Your bones tend to be bendy. Now, we're not pirates, and most people get enough vitamin C in their diet, so you don't really get scurvy. But out of all of those problems that we tend to lump everything into a chemical issue, only 10 of them can really be absolutely traced back to that. Most of these things are completely controlled by the energetics and the physics of your body. So there is no chemistry without physics. And then there is no biology without physics affecting chemistry that affects the biology. So you have to have all sciences working together. Now, we have the biology. We are the biology, right? That is our physical body. We have the chemistry. Now, when we talk about product here in just a little bit, there is fantastic chemical things in those products, right? There are superfoods. There are things like mushrooms. I mean, these things are incredibly powerful for what they provide on a chemical level to the human body. But at the same time, when you can take this step and add in the physics, add in the energy, add in the frequency, you are going to get a significantly greater outcome. It's really just becoming a delivery model in one aspect of it. And you just chose a very smart delivery model because you're using it with also these great chemical substrates that now we can supply the body with the proper chemistry, and we can supply the body with the proper physics and frequencies. Because frequencies are what we call a first order principle, right? And we're going to talk more about this. Hopefully you guys will be with us in Florida because we're going to get into this in a little bit more depth. But I want to touch on it now because I think they're important factors, right? First order principles are things that apply to all people in all places and in all times. Okay, well, at least on Earth, right? But it is absolutely with everybody is going to be there. So when everyone needs different chemistry, right? Some people can eat certain types of foods and some people will be allergic to those types of foods, right? So chemistry can be very individual. Frequency is not. Frequency is very uniform across everyone, right? All of our bodies will operate off of the same frequencies. We are meant to operate. These are first order principles. They operate with all of us. So in a universal principle, think of something like gravity, right? It doesn't matter if I like gravity. It doesn't matter if I believe in gravity. It doesn't matter if I understand the science of gravity. If I climb a ladder to the top of my office building and I step off the edge, none of that matters. I'm going to go down, right? I'm going to get pulled towards the earth. That is a first order principle, again, here on Earth, planet Earth, right? You go to the moon, it's a little bit different, but we're talking about what it takes to survive here. Right? Frequencies are a first order principle. We are all meant to be exposed to them. So every part of our body will operate at a different frequency. Think of your body like a very fancy radio station where if you want to listen to a certain channel, right, you're going to turn to a certain station, right? So if you want to listen to the country music channel, that's a certain station. If you want to listen to the classic rock, my preference, that's what you're going to change to a different channel. Your liver operates at a certain frequency. Your heart operates at a certain frequency. Your lungs, every organ, every system, everything in your body, everything in the universe operates at certain vibrational frequencies. And it's uniform, right? So what my liver operates at is the same frequency that your liver operates at. Now, it doesn't matter how many people are on the Zoom. That's what your liver, I'm talking to all of you, that's what your liver operates at. So when we can take this idea of putting in these frequencies that are first order principles across the board to put the body back into the state of harmony, understand what that alone is going to do for somebody's health. Now, it's important that it's repetitive, right? That you keep doing this every single day. No one would think that it would make sense. It would be an egregious statement to say, oh, I only charge my cell phone once a week, right? That wouldn't work, right? By the end of the first day, by half the way through the first day, I'd probably be out of battery because I always have so many tabs open on my phone because I'm always doing research, right? Your phone would run out of battery way too quickly, right? So you have to do this every day. Well, just like you have to charge your cell phone every day, it's really important that you charge your body every single day. Now, we think about that from the idea of, oh, I have to eat. I need to fuel my system. Well, I have to tell you, you get a tremendous amount of fuel and recharging in your system, significantly more so than you get from food based off the frequency that you're exposed to. So there's a power around the repetition of doing this every single day, constantly being exposed to these harmonic, balancing frequencies that put our body in this state of ease, right? Because you're either going to be in ease or you're going to be in a state of dis-ease. That's it, right? And you got one of two options. Health exists on a continuum where you're either moving towards health or disease. You're never static, right? Everything you do is going to move you one way versus the other. And you want more than half of your decisions to be moving you in a positive direction, hopefully a lot more than that. But that's why it's so important to be connected to these frequencies. Now, in the past, we never had to think about this, right? You were exposed to them because we're meant to be barefoot, living outside in the sun all day. We weren't, and we certainly weren't surrounded by all of these man-made electromagnetic frequencies, right? That are out there right now. 5G towers and Wi-Fi and internets and all these different microwaves, all these different types of things that we're exposed to. So you have to understand, not only are we disconnected from the typical frequencies, but now we're exposed to a tremendous amount of alien frequencies. And I use the word alien purposefully because understand they are alien to our human body. So when we look at it from that perspective, we're getting hit from both sides. We're not getting enough of the natural frequency, and we're getting way too much of this aberrant frequency, right? These man-made frequencies, these alien frequencies that our bodies don't understand and don't know how to process and have a negative effect on us. So it's more important now than ever. Yes, our food source isn't what it was 50 years ago, right? 100 years ago. It's not. The nutrients are not the same. Yes, there's lots of chemicals in our food. I'm not discounting any of those things, and I'm not saying that they're not important. What I'm saying is when we were able to enter frequency into the equation, even in our clinic to do this, the results that we were able to get with people that we helped them with dietary stuff and we got the right chemistry into their system, our results exponentially got greater because we were able to bring that body back to balance. So when you're able to take this idea and marry now the proper frequencies, now again, this is universal, right? They're going to all affect us in a positive way, all the same, right? So this is again, the way that we are all designed to live First order principles, all of these frequencies, we are meant to be exposed to those on the day-to-day basis. So now we're going to get exposed to all of these through the product. Now we're going to put in powerful chemistry in order to be able to help balance all of that out. But I also want to make sure that it's really well understood. When you take nutritional products and your frequency is not correct, meaning it's somehow out of balance, right? It's like an instrument, right? It's not tuned correctly, so it's not making beautiful music. When you take a nutritional product and you're in that state, do you absorb a lot of it? The answer is no. Now that has nothing to do with the quality of the product, right? A lot of people in nutritional and vitamins and things like that, they talk about, well, our product is super bioabsorbable. Our product, it has a really high absorbability rate. That's great. And that's important. But that's also dependent upon how imbalanced in frequency somebody is. Somebody whose frequency is off balance, I don't care how bioavailable those products are, they're going to get pennies on the dollar when they try to absorb those. Now, if somebody is really balanced and they're in frequency, they're in harmony, they're going to absorb so many more nutrients than somebody who's out of balance, right? So bioavailability is important, but the frequency balance is so much more important. If you want to get bang for your buck for your dollar spent on your health, you better make sure that your frequency is correct, because that will make the biggest change for anybody, right? I'm going to tell you, the major power of the product is really going to come from the frequency. It's just the pathway of which we're giving it to somebody. Again, they chose smart mediums, but they're also able to repeat that frequency over and over, and then repeat those chemistry patterns over and over. And it's that repetition of using these things for a long period of time that your body will start to stay in balance and in frequency. Because if you think of it, think of frequency, if you wanted to use a different word towards frequency, think of frequency as something more along the lines of efficiency, right? The more efficient your battery is, the more efficient that your body works, the more efficient that you're able to charge, the more efficient that you're able to do. Think about how much stuff your body does every second, every minute. It's not really fathomable. But if you're really efficient at doing that, everything goes smooth. The way you absorb food goes smooth, right? Did you ever eat something, you're upset? Maybe you just got bad news or you're upset by something, and you eat and the food just doesn't sit. You're starving, but the food just doesn't sit well in your stomach. Why is that? Because you're not in harmony. You're not in a place to absorb the nutrients from that food, right? But if you are, then maybe it's not even the best thing, but you can certainly get away with eating it. Do you know that the most common time for people to have heart attacks is on late Sunday evening into Monday morning? Because most people don't want to go to work come Monday morning. Now, actually, I don't have that problem because I like coming to work. I like doing what I do. But a lot of people don't want to go, right? So the stress is high. It's either then or it's right after they have a bad meal, right? It's typically at that point or right after a dietary thing, because if they're not in harmony and they eat that food, it's going to make them significantly sicker. So how do some people eat terrible diets all the time and they don't have any problem, but other people watch absolute everything that they do and they still have all these health challenges? It's not based upon the amount of food stuff that they're putting in their system. It may not be the right choices, but they have enough balance and frequency and energy and efficiency to overcome that. So you have to understand, every time you're taking that product, you're retuning your system. You're retuning it to basically make sure that it's playing beautiful music, to make sure that it's operating in harmony, to make sure that you're being as efficient as possible, right? Because it has to start with that. And again, I think that's so important. I know I haven't even talked about any products yet, and I'm rambling on here, but I really think that that's such an important ideology that somehow, as we've got into, the better life through better chemistry, we've lost that. And it's so core to our existence that it's crazy that we've lost it. But as doctors, it's mainly our fault because we've steered people away from the things that are the most important. Because I think that's, I think it's a huge challenge for us as doctors to be able to impart this information along to you. And I think we're failing, and I take that really personally because that's my job. My job is important. Doctor is Latin for teacher. It's not Latin for healer, it's Latin for teacher. It's our job to teach people the things that they need to do in order to keep themselves healthy. And I take that job really seriously. And at the end of the day, I think this information is super important. And that's why I said I understand it, especially when you're doing things around frequency, because there is so much misunderstanding about it. There's so much misinformation about it. And everyone thinks it's this woo-woo thing. And I promise you, it's not. This is more science than anything else. I promise you. You want to put frequency medicine up against most things that you'll see in conventional medicine, it's going to be a bloodbath because there's more science backing frequency-based medicine than there is backing most modern medical. So we want to talk about how do you get that efficiency. We want to make sure that we're getting that efficiency inside the body. And we want to make sure that we're doing that through the proper harmonics so that we can understand the power of what you have in your hand in these innocuous products. Now, again, there's nutritional products all over the place. You can go to supermarkets now, carry tons of things. How do you differentiate between what's what? Well, when you can bring both, the best of both worlds, and that's what I've talked about, right? I mean, think about marketing, right? How many times you see, well, this shampoo's got 2 in 1, right? This one is, shampoo and conditioner in one thing. So it's got these 2 things. So it must be so much better, right? So what happens when you actually combine physics and frequencies with proper chemistry? Isn't that going to be so much better than just regular chemistry that sits in the beakers and has no reaction? Right? Don't you want, if you're going to spend your hard-earned money, don't you want to absorb all of that? I know I sure would. And it's why people notice such a change on the product because of, the chemistry effects. And I'm not knocking that by any stretch. I talk so much about frequency. A lot of people say, well, he doesn't care about chemistry. Of course I do. I talk to my patients about what they eat. I talk to my patients about if they need to take nutritional supplements and things like that. But for me, that's a later conversation. It's talking about how you want to make sure you do that with the right things first, right? Leverage. If your frequency is off, that's a conversation, chemistry is a conversation that has to happen later on, right? So these 2 things are made in science to work together. They are perfectly linked to be with one another. Right? There is no chemistry without physics. So they are perfectly linked. So it only makes sense that you use them together. So when we put them in the different products, so let's talk about the individual products, right? So when you talk about a product like Rise, mushrooms has been used for way longer than I've been a doctor and probably way longer than I've been around in natural medicine to get all kinds of different powerful healing modalities. Right? We know that they're incredibly supportive for your immune system. And at the end of the day, your immune system being able to function at a high level is one of the most important things for anybody to have, right? Think about what we just all went through with COVID, right? At the end of the day, it was a scary time for a lot of people, and a lot of people had health challenges, and a lot of people were really heavily at risk, right? Immune system got pushed to the forefront of, hey, man, you better have a strong immune system. In this world, stuff is going to happen, right? But remember, immune system is based on this idea of germ theory, right? The germ theory, which is over 100 years old now, mind you, says if I'm sick and you guys come around me, you're going to get sick because I'm going to give you my germs. Now, is that always true? No. Why, right? Because I'm sure you've been around people who are sick. I'm sure that maybe everyone's sick right now, right? There's the flu going around. I'm sure that maybe even some sick people in your house right now. Does everyone get it? No. Why? Because it's still the germ theory, right? 100 years later, it's not the germ law, right? Because we can't prove it because it's not all the time. So what makes the difference? Well, it has everything. People will typically talk, well, it has everything. I have a strong immune system. But it's not like I get this and my immune system is constantly fighting it off. It's not like everyone in my house is sick and then I get sick and then I fight back a fever. No, is your frequency high enough to even force field and repel that away? Right? Once you start raising your frequency, you will find that you don't even get stuff and beat it fast. You will keep it away from you. Right? Yeah, it's still the germ theory. It is not the germ law. That is how science works. We move from theories to law. It is not a law. It is 100 years old and we still can't prove it because it's not scientifically factual. Right? So I work with patients every single day and some of them come in sick, right? They're coughing on me and everything else like that. I don't really give it a second thought because I know that I do the things I need to do in order to keep my frequency high. So, Barb was talking in the beginning about, the mental health crisis that we're dealing with right now. And so much is that. Think about people, you say, wow, that person is so full of life. They're so vibrant. What does that mean? They have a lot of energy and they vibrate at a really high frequency, right? Versus somebody who's down, kind of out of it. Their frequency is low. And they just need higher frequencies to pull them up. That's why they like being around people with higher frequencies. That's why, they always say, look at your circle of 5 friends and you'll be able to tell what your life looks like, because it depends upon who you hang out with, because it's going to pull you up. Right. So there's a lot that has to do with this, but it's all the idea basically of frequency, right? So you can do all these things. Mushrooms have incredible power to boost your immune system. The better your immune system is, the more efficiently your body functions. But when you combine those two ideologies together, you don't have to think of your body as a war zone where you're constantly getting infections and constantly fighting them off. That's one level. But the higher level is when you get to that next level of frequency, it's basically a stiff arm, and it says, you're not welcome here. There is a force field around me and you are not allowed in here. And that's why I made this comment earlier that I think it's really brilliant of some of the ideologies of what you use together. Now, again, I say you guys, and I fully believe, but I had nothing to do with the formulation. So I don't want to take credit. I don't want to take credit for anything. That's all on the Frequence crew of Barb and Dave. I came on way later after that fact and just said, I agree with what you're doing. I agree with trying to take frequency to the masses. Because at the end of the day, using a smart medium, something like mushrooms, and then bringing in something like frequency on top of that is just going to have a significantly more profound effect. It's the same thing with the source. Trace minerals have been around for long periods of time. The body is required to do them. Now, again, these are minerals that are found inside the body that frequencies will have action on, right? So frequencies need to impart some sort of action. It's almost like me in my clinic yelling, hey, I need a pen. And then thankfully, usually I have one very awesome staff member who finds me a pen, right? Because I can yell, I can send the energy, I can say I need this, but at the end of the day, they're going to be able to, something has to be able to physically do that for me. So I think that's pretty cool, right? So I'm always thankful. I'm always thankful for a quick shout out to my staff for always helping me out. But, right, there could be an energy source. I could frequency yell, but then something has to happen. So when the trace minerals are in the system and put them into balance, and you put the right frequency to those, again, you're going to get a much stronger reaction. And that's really powerful, right? Because you have to understand, we are also under a chemical assault, right? We're under physical assault, we're under mental assault, we're under chemical assault all the time in this world. Some of it's purposeful, some of it's not, right? But there is chemicals everywhere. So I'm gonna pick on one. Maybe you're aware of glyphosate. It's what Monsanto, it's what we call Roundup, right? It's a very common pesticide. Monsanto Roundup is illegal in France. You cannot use it there. They just did a study where they checked a series of all of these French people. And do you know what percentage of them had Roundup in their urine? 99%. So a chemical that is illegal to use in their country, they found it in 99% of their citizens, which means you're not getting away from this, right? It's not getting off. I don't even think off the grid exists. Like, there is no inverse square law. This is in our air. This is in our water. This is in our food. This is pervasive. It's everywhere. And the way that these chemicals hurt us is they chase in and they push our trace minerals out. So they compete with all of our trace minerals, and then they accept the frequency that comes into the body, and then it scatters the frequency and it sends it out wrong. So literally, the wrong chemicals in the body can take the right frequency and scatter them. That's powerful. So we want to make sure that when we're adding in trace minerals, we're competing with some of that bad stuff to push it out. So if you get some detoxy symptoms with it, you know what? It's uncomfortable, but good news. It's better out than in, right? Better life comes through a little bit of pain and suffering sometimes, because you've got to get that bad stuff out. So there's ways of going through that. You got to go slow and steady wins the race. But if you're getting those guys out, now you're putting in the right sounding board to put in the right type of frequencies. Now your body is going to be resonating at the highest level. Again, super beautiful music, right? I mean, think about it. If I put a nail in a microwave and I turned it on, I'm going to create crazy sparks. That's bad, right? Right now, microwave frequencies, which are alien to the human body, are what we're all exposed to all the time. And then we have all these toxic chemicals in our system, which are way heavier than the trace minerals that we have. And now we're applying a field to them and we're sparking like crazy and causing all these kind of problems. But, no doctor really talks about that. It's fascinating. To a sense, it's completely fascinating that this is going to happen and it's going to go down. So it's one of those things where you have to look at it from the perspective of the combination of these two things are meant to be in conjunction with each other, right? There is no way that they're meant to be separate. This is meant to be together, right? So it's, I know I harp a lot on the frequencies, and a lot of the times, like, I kind of have this tendency to skip over the chemistry. I don't want you to think that I don't appreciate what's chemically in the bottle or that they're not bioavailable or any of those different types of things. But at the end of the day, adding these two things together brings a tremendous amount of power. So I told Barb that I would leave a little bit of time at the end just because I know they have a new product coming out. Barb sent me the last little bit that she had remaining, which I told her she should have kept, but I was very appreciative of her sending it to me, right? And maybe you've heard about it, maybe you're not, but there's a product that they're going to call Reverse, and it's designed to increase the amount of NAD plus inside the body. Now, I know Jenna Tomer did a great interview the other night talking about a lot of it. I don't want to rehash a lot about that, but I do want to talk about some important things when it comes down to this, because I've been studying NAD plus for a very, very long time. Because when we talk about energy creation in the human body, like that's my gig, right? That's my jam. That's my science. That's what I spend most of my waking days researching, is how the body makes energy. And NAD plus is an important part of that. But I will be honest with you guys, I've been really hard on NAD plus in the past. And the reason I've been hard on NAD plus in the past was because I believed a lot of places that did it incorrectly. And the reason why I say they did it incorrectly is there's a concept in science that we call redox. Redox is the combination of two words, reduction and oxidation. Oxidation means inflammation. Reduction means reducing that. So somebody who has what we call a high redox potential means that literally they are really good at reducing the amount of oxidative stress that trauma causes to them. Now, that could be any kind of trauma. That could be physical, chemical, emotional, spiritual, whatever. The people with the high redox potentials are the ones that seem bulletproof, right? They're the ones who eat terrible and they don't have problems. They're the ones who smoke and they don't have problems. Again, I'm not advocating for any of these things, but it's how they get away with it instead of it being fair, right? This is unfair. He eats bad, I eat well. Why am I sick and he's fine? Has nothing to do with fairness, has everything to do with redox potential. Now, one of the ways that they've always measured redox potential inside the human body is they look at the balance between a chemical called NADH and NAD plus, right? So if you make energy really efficiently and you have a high redox potential and a high frequency goes along with that, you will have this very healthy balance between NADH and NAD plus. And what they're finding now in people who have low redox potentials, they have really low NAD plus. So a lot of companies jumped on board and said, hey, we want to pump up the amount of NAD plus that's inside somebody's system. But at the end of the day, there were issues with that because your body uses that balance between those two chemicals as a signaling system, as a biofeedback system to say, hey, if we run low in this and we get out of ratio between these two, something energetically is screwed up and your immune system has to kick in and figure out what that is, or your body's going to have to create rebalance, or we're going to have to create, we're not making great energy here because that balance is low. So we're going to have to put more energy production over here. They're going to have to pick up the slack for this part that's dragging. So one of my mentors always says, you can't pay someone to do push-ups for you. He's like, you can mark off on the list that it was done, but you don't get the benefit for it. But now, what happens when you start raising NAD plus, but at the same time, you start raising somebody's frequency potential, which will help with that energetic signaling? See, this is the difference. This is the difference between just giving somebody a chemical, saying you're low in this, so it's going to create a health problem, versus saying you got low in this because your frequencies were off. And now if we can balance your frequencies and increase your vibration and put this in there, you are creating an entirely different category. So I know I've seen a lot of people real jazzed that, hey, this makes a lot more NAD plus, and that's great. There's nothing wrong with that. But the real thing that you should be excited about is the combination between the two. Because NAD plus in the past actually would cause more problems than it helped if you weren't raising the frequency and the redox potential, because you throw off the body's biosignaling. So that's part of why I think this is such a cool ideology of doing this. And that's why, again, I was thankful for Barb sending me, because we'll test everything. And it's going to be really wild to see the change of when you do this with frequency medicine combined at the same time. And I think if you're going to talk to people about the product, I think it's a really important thing to bring up, because I've had patients for years come in and tell me, I've done NAD infusions, I've done IVs, and that stuff is not easy. And that stuff is expensive, right? It's not cheap to do all that sorts of stuff. And most of them are like, didn't really do anything. Yeah, because basically your number was low because your frequency was low all the way through that point. And just making this number high doesn't change the domino effect from up here that your frequency is still low, right? You paid someone to do push-ups for you. You can mark off that you did it, but you don't get the muscles. You don't get the cardiovascular strength. You don't get the feel-good endorphin release that you did the push-ups. You paid someone to do it for you. So those numbers would go up, but it really looked nice on paper, but it didn't really mean much when it came to your health. Now the combination of using that to try to push frequency levels up and combine pushing that up, we have this significantly greater chance of impacting somebody's health. So yeah, it's great that you could push it up. Don't get me wrong. And anytime you can get more in the system, get more bang for your buck, that's a good thing. But I think that's a real important piece of the puzzle when it comes to redox chemistry, that is really what's going to separate you from the pack when it comes down to the rest of these products. So, I hope this made sense. I know I've rambled on. I know I've rambled on for quite a bit of time. I always peek down at the clock and I'm like, how could it possibly have went this fast? Because I have like so much more stuff to say. But at the same time, I want to make sure I'm respectful of all your time. And we will definitely have the great chance to be down with you guys in Orlando and Florida. And we planned a cool talk for that. And I keep changing it because I'm insane. But hopefully this made sense. Hopefully this gives you a deeper scientific understanding of what makes it so powerful. Hopefully it makes it easier to share with your friends and family and loved ones about how this could be a life-changing thing. I just hope that this brings value to your life and to your work with frequency.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rob. And I know when I first told you what we were going to be doing with the new product, you were like, I'm so excited, because you are always helping people to try and repair damage that they've done to their body, trying to reverse the effects of negative things that they've done to their body. And so, a lot of people say, tell me how this product can be infused with the frequency. Like, I know it's like the light switch. Like, we can't see what happens when we flick the light switch, but the light comes on. And, so many people ask me, and I know today we had videographers there in your office. They had 2 hours lined out to drill Dr. Rob and get this whole education on the power of our products having this frequency. And, for people, let me grab them. For people that don't know about the rise in the source, Dr. Rob talked tonight about the mushrooms and the source minerals. You can actually get the rise in the source together. We have a Stay Tuned pack right now and a medallion with those 11 harmonic frequencies. So Dr. Rob, in 2 sentences, how would you explain to someone the difference in the mushrooms and the minerals with frequency compared to someone just taking mushrooms and minerals?
Again, I think it has to come down to usability, right? If you're going to do this, the more balanced you are and the higher frequency you're at, the more efficiently your body's going to work and the more efficiently you're going to use all of the product that's inside, right? There's chemical product in there. You're going to use it more efficiently. So if you're going to spend your hard-earned dollar, do you want to again, waste most of it, or do you want to actually use it and get benefit, right? So you get benefit from the frequency, you get benefit from the chemical, and they work synergistically together. It's just a no-brainer versus just taking stuff that's cold.
Absolutely.
That
And
wasn't
then
two
straw.
sentences. I'm sorry.
And the straw comes free in the pack. And you know, the crazy thing is, Dr. Rob, we have people that are literally sleeping with their straw, putting it by their dog in bed, carrying it around in their pocket. People are doing crazy things with this straw. And so, you know, these frequencies that are boosting the organs of the body, we have so many testimonials. But I really do believe that this new product, the trifecta of it, with the three ingredients, with the clinical studies, and the benefits that people are getting already. I have people saying, "Do you have any? Do you have any?" I'm like, I sent my 14 capsules in the beta bottle to Dr. Rob, and some of the triple platinums in the company, they were able to get like enough days to get from now until the event. But we just wanted to see if everyone else felt as good as we did. You know, obviously we were on them for about a month and now so excited to get our hands on them next week. What do you think the main benefit people are going to see with the trifecta that we have? I mean, the diazoflavin, the NMNH, and that AC11. And I know you've looked at the ingredients and you were like, wow. What do you think some of the benefits people are going to see being able to grab that next week when it launches?
So I definitely think there's good. Obviously, the main thing is going to be energy, right? Energy production, and energy production doesn't always look like the way you think it's going to, because most of us have like energy production in our head like it's caffeine, right? Like I'm stimulated, I'm bouncing around. Most people are going to probably notice it that their recovery is going to get better. Like, hey, if I would have normally done this, I would have been tired or I would have been sore, and I didn't have any of that. It's funny because we notice that a lot of times in ours when we work with people. That's the first thing that they notice. They're not bouncing off the walls, freaking out, and like all scrambled like on a caffeine high. They're like, man, I can withstand, right? I can have this long, sustainable energy. I can do more. I can push myself. I can come out of it, right? That's a really powerful thing. But I think one of the other really interesting facts about NAD that I wasn't going to talk about, but it's important. NAD is an important signaling molecule inside the body to regulate circadian rhythm. So your circadian rhythm, basically, of when you wake up, when you go to sleep, how does your body understand the day and night light cycles? NAD plus is an important signaling molecule for that. So people would not only see better energy during the day, but they probably would see a change in sleep at night. I wouldn't be really surprised if they started to see something changing in the signs of like dreaming and vivid dreaming. Signs of vivid dreaming is usually a consideration of probably really high redox potential.
Wow. Well, I can tell you what I see with the product, Dr. Rob, is a lot of us have done a lot of damage to our body. And now we're at a certain age and we're like, how do we play catch up? Because we waited so long to really like be passionate about our health. And when I look at those studies, I'm like, if I can just, well, everybody's playing share, turn back time, right? But
Right.
ultimately, we want to have a longer quality of life. I want to see my grandchildren, great grandchildren get married, graduate. And a lot of people grow old, but they don't have that quality of life. And so, having you educate people on frequency and how it works is such a blessing to us because obviously, you know, we know it works, but you have so much experience and you have treated royalty, people from all over the world. You have trained, how many doctors did you train from all over the world last week, virtually and in your office? Like, you're not just a frequency doctor, but you're teaching the frequency doctors.
Yeah, that was it. That's an intense boot camp. And we spent like 23 hours over the course of 3 days training. We had, I think, over 60 doctors.
Amazing. And you guys, if you want to learn more from Dr. Rob, we have so much coming. He is going to be at our event, and you can get a virtual ticket for those of you that can't come to Florida. I'm going to drop the link in here. You can watch online. We're going to have 2 solid days in Orlando, Florida on the weekend of Valentine's Day. So that 11, 12, 13, 14. We're going to be heading there next week. It's on Friday and Saturday. If you can't sit and watch it live the whole time, you can go back and watch the replay, but it is an absolute steal to not only learn from Dr. Rob, but all of the top producers in the company. Obviously, my husband, Dave, our family, sharing the story of Frequence. But there is going to be an entire day on Friday focused on the product, the story of Frequence, how it works, every single product. I know Jenna Tomer, Dr. Rob, many of the top leaders in the company on panels, questions, answers. It's going to be incredible education all day Friday on the products. And on Saturday, it's going to be a deep dive into the opportunity. Some of you are watching and you want to become a customer. Some of you may be saying, I want to really build this business. I will tell you, I've had 30 years in the industry, not just in direct sales, but always with a nutritional company. I've never had a product where you didn't even have to teach people anything about sales because they try the product, they love the product, they run out of the product, and when they run out, they freak out. They want to get on subscription for the product, and then they love it so much they want it in the bodies of all their people, and they say, how do I sell this product? And so you guys, it is like a freight train moving. Like Frequence is absolutely growing. And Dr. Rob, we're so excited to be on this journey with you. We can't wait to see you in Orlando next weekend. And, you know, I know on Friday after you finish speaking, a lot of people are going to Magic Kingdom, but a lot of people are probably just going to be mobbing you in the hall.
That's
And
okay. We're ready for it. Yeah.
I know we are so ready for it. Well, thank you, Dr. Rob, for tuning in tonight. And for those of you that are a guest, I just want to take a minute to share with you what's in this for you. So you've heard a little bit from our frequency doctor, Dr. Rob. There are so many leaders that are on this live stream tonight that have invited their friends, their family, their colleagues, their neighbors, their coworkers. Here's what's in it for you. Normally, it costs some money to get started to be able to grab an affiliate link and actually get the savings on the product. And because we're gearing up for our launch and the celebration is just a week away, right? A little over a week away, we have an incredible deal where right now you can actually grab an affiliate link for $1. You can get the savings like an affiliate. You can get all the training for free, done for you funnels like a business in a box. And it's all $1. And that is limited only until launch on Valentine's weekend. So all you need to do is put the name of the person who invited you here on the live. Just shout them out and let them know, you know, I'm ready. Everybody who's new, I want you to comment and say new if this was your first time seeing it. And I want to tell you guys, if you just want to be a customer, you can grab a link and you can order as a customer. But here's how you decide, do I want to be a customer or do I want to be an affiliate? Now, if you just want to be a customer, you don't want to tell any of your friends about this, you want to keep it a secret, you're not going to share it with your sister, your brother, your mother, your neighbor, you just want to get it for yourself, you might just want to be a customer. But I want to tell you, as an affiliate for $1, you're going to get a link to where if you loved a pair of red shoes and they were red bottoms and they were $900 shoes and you could get them for 10, you might phone a friend. You might call your sister, your neighbor, like I might just buy them all myself, right? So if you can get a business in a box that would cost thousands of dollars to co-create, like you, the website, the funnel, all the training, everything right there for you, and you could get it for $1 and you're new, I would say grab the link, because here's what's going to happen. You're going to start with Rise and Source, and you're going to start taking these two. And if you can get your hands on the Sync, I know it's not in every country, but I'm telling you guys, I don't go to bed at night without this magnesium, GABA, all the things, and my Relieve cream. Now, we cannot ship that into Canada and the other countries, but if you're in America, you can get the starter pack and get it all, right? That Stay Tuned pack allows you to get these while they last. This is a $180 necklace with 11 harmonic frequencies, so it's always on my body, and the straw. Now, when you're rising and vibing and you share that with a few of your friends, we are going to pay 20% referral on the real dollar, even if you just have one person order or if you have 10. So we literally have people that are sharing just the Rise and the Source and the straw, you know, just the Stay Tuned pack with a few of their friends, people that make 200 a week, people that make 2,000 a week, people that make 20,000. It just depends on how many people you want to share it with. And the cost to you to get started tonight is $1. So grab the Stay Tuned pack. If you listen to anything that Dr. Rob said, I know you're going to want to stay tuned. He is going to be bringing so much more education, so much more training. We're brainstorming on new products and developments. If you guys knew what we had up our sleeve, you would literally be telling everyone that you even had contact with, grab a link before this comes, because it's like knowing about Tesla before Tesla was big. It's like having the idea of Facebook before Facebook went big. It's like knowing about Microsoft and someone saying to you, do you want to be involved or not? There were a lot of people there at that time that were right in the right place at the right time, but not everybody took action. So those of you that are dropping in the comments, new, I'm new, we have an incredible special for you. And the person that invited you on is going to send you the link so that you can take advantage for just $1. You can get your product order in. And if you are anything like me, you want to learn more. And so you can grab a virtual ticket. I'm going to have Patty type that in the comments. So you'll just go to frequence.com/launch. If you're in the business as an affiliate and you loved what you heard tonight from Dr. Rob and you want to learn from all the top leaders, mind, body, and bank account, you can choose, you can go back and rewatch. It is all virtual and it's like 129 bucks. So it's an incredible steal. And that is happening next weekend on Friday and Saturday. So grab your virtual ticket if you don't already have one. If you can come in person, we would love to celebrate there with you in person. But the most important thing, if you didn't listen to anything else tonight, get your mushrooms, get your source, and get your body tuned. Because like Dr. Rob said, it doesn't matter what people do, what they take, how much money they spend, what doctor they go to. If their body is at a low vibration, you always get the same answer. We just can't figure it out. We don't know what. She seemed so healthy and then she wasn't. You guys, energy is everything and everything is energy. And we want to be the company that helps you feel good now. So thank you for joining us. Get with the person that got you on. Thank you so much, Dr. Rob. I can't wait to hug you and celebrate with you and your team there in Orlando next week. We'll see you guys there. And I want to be the first to say to all of you that are guests, welcome to Frequence.